Hello everyone, we are Group 2. Our group topic is the Gaokao trip, how family background shapes educational opportunity in China. We are 6 group members. They are Hu Xin, Wen Fudi, Chen Jingzhe, Zhou Jie, Shen Yuechan, Li Yiran. Today, I'd like to briefly introduce the background of China's Gaokao, the National College Entrance Exam. First, let's look at its development history. The Gaokao was first established in 1952. It was suspended during the Cultural Revolution and officially reinstated in 1977 as a merit-based selection system. It picks students purely based on academic performance, displaying skilled talents for national modernization. The exam also safeguards basic educational equity for generations of students. Second, we can see its growing social influence from recent data. In 2024, Gaokao candidates hit a record high of 1342 million. This huge number comes from population growth, and more importantly, the rising value of higher education credentials in China's job market and economy. In short, Gaokao is not only a university admission exam, but also a crucial part of China's education and economic development. That's all for my background introduce.
Now let me talk about the problem we are studying. The Gaokao is supposed to be fun exam. It is designed to be merit-based. This means the student should be succeed because they are hard work and ability. But advance tell different story. A student family background play very big role. This include how much money the parent earn, how educated the parent are, and where family live. These things strong after how well a student does. So bring up the important question. Can we really call the system fair? If the result depends the family a student is born into. If only changes something but ignore the different problem, then reform only treat the symptoms, not the real cause. And the students who need the most help will they be had again and again. This is the problem we want to understand better.
To study this problem, we have three main objectives. First, we want to examine how a family's social and economic background affects a student's access to good education and their performance in the Gaokao. Second, we want to analyze the role of private tutoring and shadow education. We want to see how these things make the gap between rich and poor students even wider. And third, we want to evaluate government policies. We want to know if these policies really work, if they can narrow the gap between privileged and underprivileged students. These three objectives will guide our whole research. Now let's move to the methodology section. This study adopts a qualitative systematic literature review to analyze how family background influences students' educational opportunities. It is guided by Bourdieu's cultural capital and stratification theories, as well as Rawls' equality of opportunity, and uses 2019 to 2024 authoritative secondary data, including official statistics and policy documents. There are three core limitations: no primary empirical data from students, potential bias in secondary data, and the scope is limited to mainland China's basic education and Gaokao. Still, it lays a solid foundation for future mixed methods interdisciplinary research. The flowchart below shows the complete research process, from defining the topic to drawing the final conclusion. Thank you.
For Objective 1, our study examined how family background influences students' access to quality education and their Gaokao performance. The literature shows that family, socio-economic status, parental education, urban-rural background, poverty tolerance, and access to key schools all affect students' preparation before the exam. Wealthier families can provide more learning materials, tutoring, and stable study environments. Educated parents may also give better academic guidance and admission information. Our findings that students do not prepare for the Gaokao under equal conditions. Urban students usually have better schools, teachers, and exam resources, while rural and migrant students may face disadvantage because of the weaker school quality and hukou restrictions. Therefore, family background affects students' Gaokao performance before the exam actually begins. The discussion suggests that the Gaokao is formally there because all students take the same exam. However, the preparation process is not fully equal. Family income can become educational advantage through tutoring and better resources, while parental education can provide cultural support. Therefore, educational fairness should not only focus on exam rules, but also whether students have equal preparation opportunities before the Gaokao. For Objective 2, our study focused on the role of private tutoring and shadow education in reinforces educational inequality. The literature review shows that shadow education refers to paid tutoring outside normal school hours, such as cram schools, one-to-one tutoring, weekend classes, and online courses. Because of the strong Gaokao competition, tutoring has become an important part of exam preparation. Our finding is that shadow education gives more advantage to students from higher income families, where families can afford better tutoring services, star teacher classes, and long-term academic support. In contrast, low income and rural students often have limited access to high quality tutoring. The double reduction policy try to reduce tutoring pressure, but some tutoring become more private and expensive. The discussion suggests that shadow education and transform family economic resources into academic advantages. It widens the gap between students from different socioeconomic backgrounds. Although tutoring may help individual students improve, its unequal access makes Gaokao competition more dependent on family wealth. Therefore, shadow education becomes a hidden mechanism that reinforces educational inequality.
For Objective 3, our group evaluates how effective government policies are reducing the education opportunity gap in China. The Chinese government has introduced several policies to help disadvantaged students. These include hukou reform, quota policies, rural education investment, and the double reduction policies. First, hukou reform gives some migrant children more chance to study in urban public school. However, in big cities like Beijing and Shanghai, the competition is still very high. Second, quota policies give rural and poor students more chance to enter good universities. By 2022, these special admission plans had helped more than 900,000 students. So these policies are useful, but they are still not perfect. For discussion part, our key finding is that government policies are only partly effective. Rural education investment has improved school buildings, libraries, dormitories, and learning material in poor areas. However, teacher quality is still a big problem. Many experienced teachers still prefer to work in urban schools because cities have better pay and living conditions. The double reduction policy also tried to reduce private tutoring pressure, but in reality, some tutoring moved underground and become more expensive. This means rich families can still buy extra support. Therefore, true fairness is not only about taking the same Gaokao exam. Students also need fair preparation before the exam.
So this study shows that the college entrance examination cannot be completely fair if students start from very different backgrounds. Although all students take the same exam, their preparation conditions are not equal. Family income, parents' educational level, urban-rural differences, school quality, and access to private tutoring all affect students' opportunities before the exam. Hidden education further increases this gap because wealthy students can receive more learning support while poor students have fewer resources. Therefore, true educational fairness requires not only a fair examination system but also more equal preparation conditions for students from different social backgrounds. Ideology refers to a set of beliefs or ideas that shapes how people understand society, fairness, and success. Our top is inequality in the college entrance examination system. The exam is often seen as fair because all students take the same test. However, students do not always have the same preparation conditions. The connection is that the ideology of fair competition may hide deeper inequalities. Wealthy students can receive more tutoring and learning support, while rural and low income students may have fewer resources. This can make society believe that exam results only depend on personal effort, while ignoring structural problems such as family income, school quality, and urban rural differences. Therefore, real educational fairness should not only mean taking the same exam, but also having more equal opportunities before the exam.